Michael Walden. Michael Walden is the president of the Brennan Center for Justice at New York University School of Law, a nonpartisan law and policy institute focused on improving the systems of democracy and justice. So Waldman is a constitutional lawyer and writer and is an expert on the presidency and American democracy. I cannot tell you how many times I've quoted the Brennan Center. Thank you, and you're welcome.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for the opportunity to testify today on behalf of the Brennan Center to urge the Democratic Party to unambiguously and enthusiastically adopt a bold democracy reform agenda as a central governing and policy strategy. I will talk in particular about one aspect of that, which is
Excuse me, can you make sure you've pressed the button in the center of the microphone? Thank you.
Speaking to the mic. Speaking to the mic. There you go.
Okay. I won't say it all again, except thank you, and we strongly encourage you to make bold democracy reform a central policy, strategy, and agenda for the Democratic Party and the next administration and the next Congress. I'll focus in particular on automatic and permanent voter registration. The nation was founded 240 years ago on the commitment that government is legitimate only when it rests on the consent of the governed. And we have struggled toward that ideal ever since. It's been a hard struggle, and this party at its best has been central to that struggle. But as you all know, right now, that democracy is facing tremendous strains. 17 states will have new laws to restrict voting on the books for the first time in a presidential election in 2016. It's the first presidential election in half a century without the full protection of the Voting Rights Act. It's the first presidential election where we feel the full force of Citizens United and the other misguided Supreme Court decisions. It's not a surprise that voter turnout in the last election plunged to the lowest level in 72 years. It's not a surprise that the public is engaged and angry and deeply concerned about this. We believe the answer is to go on offense, to adopt a reform agenda to push for the revitalization of these institutions of American self-governance. And you'll hear from other witnesses about many of them. Small donor public financing, a new constitutional jurisprudence to overturn Citizens United and other misguided decisions, restoration of the Voting Rights Act, restoration of the right to vote to people with past felony convictions. And one of the most exciting developments, the most important new breakthrough, is automatic voter registration. As you know, our ramshackle voter registration system is a great obstacle to full participation. Automatic registration would change the paradigm. You would be registered to vote when you interact with a government agency such as the DMV, unless you choose not to. This would be an extraordinary change in the way we register voters, and it would make a big difference. Fully implemented across the country, it would add 50 million people to the rolls. It would cost less, and it would improve accuracy and security. It is a powerful proposal. There's tremendous momentum for it. In the last year and a half, Oregon, California, West Virginia, and Vermont have enacted it. Connecticut 2 weeks ago announced it would do so without waiting for its legislature. The Illinois legislature a few days ago sent it to the governor for signature. We are finding that it is already working. In Oregon, the registration rates at the DMV quadrupled month by month since it was enacted. Now, as you know, Secretary Clinton has put forward a strong proposal to register every 18-year-old. When it came out, we said that it was a game changer. Senator Sanders has introduced a strong piece of legislation. The Democratic leadership of the Congress has indicated they will be putting forward a bill. This should be a party priority now and going forward. It would make a big difference. One last note on strategy. You all have a lot of challenges and a lot of goals that you're seeking to set for the country. You're looking at critical issues, how to end mass incarceration, how to address climate change, how to promote economic equality. All of these challenges will be so much harder to address if we don't fix our broken political system and revitalize our democracy. all of these challenges will be easier to address if we can fully tap the participatory energies of all of the American people. So I encourage you to make this not merely something that you adopt, but that's something you embrace, that the Democratic Party put the fight for American democracy back at the center of American politics where it belongs.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Congressman Gutierrez and then Ellison.
Thank you very much. Thank you. A couple of comments as we move forward. So, 1 million Latinos turn 18 every year. So as a party, and in this platform, we need to do something to make sure that when they turn 18, they register to vote. And I'm only talking about the Latinos that turn 18 that are citizens of the United States of America. And secondly, as we expand democracy, we have 8 million permanent residents of the United States. Permanent residents. Now, you know, members of the committee, if they go and change their green card, it's $450, right? They get it guaranteed. If they want to become a citizen, it's almost $700. So how do we take those 8 million people that are permanent residents of the United States? I think, you know, it's basically a poll tax on them, saying, here it is, here's the standard, $700 if you want to really incorporate yourself into the American democracy. So I think as a platform, we have to talk about also how we encourage those people. It's not only Latinos, it's people from all over the world, but it's a great growing movement of people. So, you know, Donald Trump's going to be here today. I'll tell you what, I got an antidote to Donald Trump. It's all those young Latinos too, and it's all those permanent residents. We have to facilitate their incorporation in democracy, and I want to thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Ellison.
There are many spurs to political participation. Some are positive and some are not so positive, and we may see both this time. But you're absolutely right that so many of the new laws are really crafted to make it harder for new citizens to vote, whether it's the voter ID laws that require people to go get their naturalization papers, sometimes at a cost of hundreds of dollars, or the effort to demand proof of citizenship to register or to vote, which are now being pressed across the country. We have to wage those defensive fights while we are at the same time moving forward with affirmative reforms.
Ellison.
Thank you, sir. So in 1980, a conservative movement leader by the name of Paul Weyrich gave an important speech in which he said, and I'm paraphrasing, he didn't want people to vote. In fact, the chances for his agenda to get passed went up as the electorate went down. And he is one of the founders of the Heritage Foundation, one of the founders of the Moral Majority and the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC. And I guess my question to you is simply this. Can it be said that powerful interests on the conservative end have identified voter suppression as a strategic goal? And can it be also said that on the Democratic side, we have yet to set our intention to make voter expansion as a strategic goal? We have yet to do it. We think it's good if people vote, but we're not like actively trying to increase the number of people who vote. I can tell you that as a Democrat, they want us to win, but it's really more of get more, a higher winning percentage rather than calculating the raw number of votes. So I guess my question to you is, what do you think about my hypothesis? Are they specifically trying to suppress the vote? Is it an accident that only 36% of the people voted in 2014? That we're the lowest OECD country in terms of voter participation, and of the large industrial countries? What do you think?
Well, you're exactly right that this is a fiercely strategic goal of the modern conservative movement. To enact many of these laws. Every time that conservatives, in many instances, have gotten so much as a pinky on a lever of power, they have turned to these issues of the rules of the game. What has not happened is that when progressives or Democrats have had similar opportunities, that they've worked to strengthen and expand the institutions of American democracy. It's important, too, to note that on a lot of these issues, even while there are these very intense partisan fights and We're all part of them or seeing them. There's actually, at times, coming together around some of these. Automatic voter registration has been passing increasingly with bipartisan majorities in the states because it expands the electorate, but it also improves the administration of our elections. Ending felony disenfranchisement is something that has brought the religious conservatives and voting rights activists together. So there even now can be common ground on this, recognizing it's inevitably going to be political. But you're right, the difference has been that the Democrats have not always emphatically addressed these issues when they've had the chance.
Mr. Walden, I use the term, sadly, that it seems that our democracy is being hijacked. I mean, if you look at all the things that you're talking about today, voting, when you look at the efforts on the part of Republicans to stop the president from presenting his nominee for the Supreme Court, I could go down the line, I mean, over and over again, Citizens United, hijacking of a democracy. And you're right, we have to have an offensive defense, And so I really thank you, and I thank you for the work that you do, because that research helps us in Congress to make our arguments, and helps a lot of other people. So I want to thank everybody at the Brennan Center, and let them know that we do listen and read what you put out. All right.
Well, you're very kind, and they're watching, so
good.
they will hear it.
Good. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.